but it's free. So when it first started hanging around plants, my wife dropped. It's warm in here. I'll sleep. Okay, we find out. Oh, okay. Get off here. Good morning. So far, yeah, let's do it again. You've got plans, yeah?
Good morning. It's Friday, February 12, 2021. The Board of County Commissioners has convened to hear several items of business this morning. Present in the room are Commissioner White. Commissioner Smith is not present today. Our deputy clerk duties are being performed by Monica Reeves. The assessor is going to take the first item of business. He's accompanied by Greg Heim, Joe Cox, Chief Deputy, Steve Onifree from multiple departments, multi-talented. We have members of the community and Wes and Sandy Rathai, as well as Beth Einig from NAMPA Economic Development, and Steve Shake. And so, also, on the line, Brad Goodsell, Legal Counsel for Board of County Commissioners, and Rachel Spacek from the Idaho Press Tribune. Welcome today. And Brian, take it away.
Madam Chair, which topic would you like to take first?
We have, and it doesn't matter to me, we can do the Creations Unlimited if you'd like, or we can, you have three things, the Creations Unlimited and the proposed administrative fee increase, which is going to be rescheduled, and then the Board of Equalization matter. I don't care, you can drive that part of it.
If you'd like to do Creations Unlimited, I think that's the most done here today.
Okay.
Then it's just down to us.
Okay.
That's actually Joe's project. So.
There you go. Joe Cox, welcome.
Thank you. How are you guys today?
We're great.
Can we invite the...
Yes, please come forward. There's a table for you up here. Welcome. And he's invited Wes and Sandy Rathai to come to the table where there's a microphone for Creations Unlimited machining. Is it Wes?
Wesley. This is a company that is relocating out of California. They want to be part of our community. They've done quite a bit of research between us and a couple other locations. One of the driving factors to locating in Idaho, other than our beautiful community and the environment that we live in, the exemption was a big portion of their incentive to relocate here. I'll let them kind of explain what they're doing, what their future plans are.
We're a manufacturing machine shop, and we decided that we wanted to expand, but in California you can't really expand. So we've looked at a couple different options, but we do really like Idaho. We like everything about Idaho, and we thought it'd be, besides business-wise, it'd be a great place to raise families. So we started looking, and we loved it here. So we decided that you know, if we can get them done, we'd love to come here.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I have a couple of questions on the resolution, and Joe, should I direct those to you, or maybe Brad Goodsell? So on page 2 out of 3, it's always generates interest from the community on the reason that the board grants these exemptions, and what I heard you say, that it is a competitive market to bring industry to a county, and they are planning to come in hopes of receiving that incentive. So this is a partial exemption. I had some questions based on the table that you provided, Joe. It's a 3-year exemption that begins in 2022 and runs through 2024. And do you want to continue to work through this, or do you want me?
Just go ahead and ask your question. But mainly what we've done is we've adopted a staggered resolution to encourage certain type of investments, and then we reward them at different rankings. So one is the county has put a lot of emphasis on quality job creation. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that we look at. We prefer jobs that are more high skilled with better pay. And then I think one of the other things that we'd like to pay attention to is diversity of the job creation. So, I mean, we don't want to get too lopsided in Canyon County with food production only, so it is nice to spread out that base, because I think it makes our economy stronger when we have multiple industries to rely on. I think this was kind of a more fun exemption to grant it, because it's really a family business that's really trying to grow. And usually family businesses are better supporters of the community, because they have deeper roots once they get established.
And these rubrics were built with a minimum wage requirement. I don't know if Beth wants to address that, or if that is included in this. I didn't see it, but.
$50 an hour? I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question, and I'm going to direct this to Beth Einig, because she was in with the legal and the economic directors in the county and with Caldwell in developing the rubric. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Beth? And if you don't mind passing that microphone down to her so that she can speak into that.
Commissioners, the rubric does account for an average wage above the county average, and in talking with Creations Unlimited, they definitely exceed those average wages. So these could be good jobs, and I'm here just in support of their applications that we've met with them in the fall, and agree with the deputy assessor that I think that they'll be a valuable member of the community and really contribute to our community.
Okay, and Beth, this is new construction, correct?
So they, the reason why the rubric only has the personal property component is they are looking to purchase a building that's under construction.
Okay.
So it is new construction, but that building was already in process. The
Gotcha.
building portion I don't believe qualifies, but their personal property, which will be pretty significant as an investment would.
And how many employees will this bring?
It's about 25.
It's going to start about 20 and go up to 25.
Nice, okay. And then on the estimated calculated investment amount, you have a 5-year spread on that, but it's a 3-year incentive that starts, okay. And so, do you want to talk to that, Joe?
I mean, they have a staggered investment over time, because they're anticipating growing once they get here.
Okay.
But based upon our resolution, they qualify for a 3-year exemption on them.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. And then, yes, the personal property portion of that looks like a substantial investment, and it'll return tax dollars to the community. One of the things that people want to know is what happens. There's been some of that criticism, but that's built into the resolution. Joe, do you want to talk about that on item number 6?
I didn't bring it up.
Well, it's that they have to meet the exemption requirements for a period of 10 years, the first year after the exemption is granted. So this, if I read it correctly, goes from 2023 to 2033, that they have to be in substantial compliance, correct?
That's correct. What we've done is, in the very beginning when we were doing research on NN, the East Coast had several bad apples that was, once the exemption would burn off, that they would just hop to the next community or the next state to get the next incentive. And what we wanted to create was an environment that once we did recruit companies, that they did stay here long term. And so what we did was we granted the exemption in the front, and then if the company fails to meet those obligations, or they decide to move then we have the ability to recapture those tax dollars that we granted and return back to the tax.
Right, and that's on a prorated basis, depending on their time. And so I want to say welcome to our, thank you for looking at the Treasure Valley, and Canyon County specifically, when you're looking to really relocate. It is a great place to live, and I have confidence because of the integrity of our assessor's office and our economic development coordinators that they bring good business to the county. So thank you for that. Is there anything else you would like to share with the board? Commissioner White, do you have any questions? No. Anything else? Beth, do you have anything?
Madam Chair, it's Brad.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
First of all, I apologize for not being there in person today. I had to turn around when the roads were closed this morning, so I wasn't able to make it in. But there's two critical things that need to occur this morning. One is the applicants need to agree to the terms and conditions of the resolution on the record, so that there's a record that they agree with them. And
Okay.
and secondly, all of the taxing districts that are affected by this exemption received notice that there was going to be a hearing this morning at this time, and they had an opportunity to appear and to express any thoughts or concerns that they might have. So the board also needs to make a record of whether there's anybody there from any of the taxing districts and whether they have anything to say.
Okay, thank you, Brad. I will do that now. So, given the information that's been laid out, and I know that you've been in conversation with the assessor's office and the economic development coordinator, do you both agree to the terms that have been laid out on record and what's been put in coming for incentives?
Absolutely.
Yes, we did.
Okay, and then for the record, is there any taxing district present this morning? They have been properly noticed that would object or want to make comment on this proposal today for 602 NN exemption. Seeing or hearing none, then we will assume that they did not exercise their right to attend the hearing. I have one more question, Joe, and it's for the substantially compliant. That's going to be reviewed on a regular basis, correct? And it's the assessor's office that determines that compliance, is that right?
Right, and mainly what we're doing is just monitoring that they did create the jobs that they promised, and they're maintaining those positions. And then, of course, they'll be reporting their personal property as on a normal basis anyway, and we monitor, make sure that assessments are made.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I do have a question. If it's not, secret information or anything like that, what kind of machine, for example, can you tell that yet or no?
Yeah, it's all custom, high-end CNC machines. So we do a lot of manufacturing for like the aerospace industry, medical industry. We don't make any of our own products currently. We're always looking for something to make, but never come up with a brilliant idea that's going to take off. So.
There, okay, so you're a resource for...
It's all real high-end equipment. Basically, last machine we bought, we spent over $1 million on it.
Amazing.
It's computerized. It's basically, it'll make a part almost as big as this table, half this table. And it's a 5-axis machine that basically operates the whole way around and everything with automatic loading and everything. We run 24 hours a day pretty much right now.
Okay.
And both my sons they joined the company and they love it. So they're taking over.
Okay. Beth, if I could, is this a new industry for this area, or so this is launching?
Commissioners, we do have some machine shops that are somewhat similar in what they do, but these definitely bring a different level of sophistication. And certainly a different type of facility that supports, we don't necessarily have any in the aerospace industry today, and so I think it does broaden the rebates for that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Beth. Congratulations. And is this part of your
Yeah.
Sister and brother-in-law.
I thought that you might be sisters, yes.
I mean, everybody's been with us,
Oh, welcome, all of you, and congratulations. You have made a wonderful decision. And if it's your lucky day, you might look at a lotto ticket. Okay. So, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Just one more other comment. What's nice about this business is when the kids are off to college and are doing more engineering machine type degrees, they got a place to come home to and apply for.
Yeah, and that piques another question, because you're now in a more specialized. So can you put your background on the record for us? Just, I know you came from California, but what's your...
Originally, I grew up in Pennsylvania. So I moved from Pennsylvania to California 35 years ago. I've been doing machining for 40 years now. I started when I was 18. And like I said, both my kids got into the trade, and they're taking over the business. And the older one can't wait to expand. Every year, we're buying more equipment.
Very nice.
I can't wait to retire.
Yes.
Really is.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And Monica, this is a meeting and not a public hearing, is that right? Or do we need to close public testimony?
I'm not entirely sure. We had scheduled as a
It's an action item, yeah.
The action item is to sign the resolution.
Okay, so I don't think we need to do anything to close a testimony because it is a meeting. And Commissioner White, I would entertain a motion for the action item to sign the resolution unless you have further discussion.
I don't. I'll make a motion that we sign the resolution granting Creations Unlimited Machining Incorporated a property tax exemption pursuant to Idaho Code 63602NN.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And welcome to Idaho.
Thank you.
Yes.
So happy. So happy.
So you guys are residing in Kenny County?
Yes.
Good deal.
In fact, both my kids have already bought houses in Canyon County, and we're meeting with the builders.
They're not closed yet, but
But they have, yeah, they're weeks away from closing.
what's going on with the real estate here? It's sky high.
Yeah, you better make the decision.
Yeah, yes, like before you get out to your boat.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
I remember that on my day as we moved to the field.
They didn't volunteer.
I just ran by. Good, are you guys setting on this?
Thank you.
Thanks.
What are we doing next?
Convene as DOE and just acknowledge there's no appeals. This is the next group.
Okay.
So can I be the appellant?
Object your own value.
Monica, are we still on the record?
Yep, we're going.
It is now 9:16 on Friday, February 12th. The Board of County Commissioners I will take a motion to reconvene as the Board of Equalization to hear the assessors' matters regarding Board of Equalization.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Ryan Stender and Steve Onfrey. Yes, good morning. I'm Greg Heim.
Morning again, Commissioners. So this is the second part of, we did transient earlier in the week, and now we're going to discuss the missed supplemental and occupancy values for 2020. Again, we had no appeals this year, so we just need you guys to basically acknowledge that we're going to move this along in the property tax system. We'll be transferring the role from my office over to the auditor's office, and then the treasurer can begin billing from there. Let's see, I give you two handouts, Greg gave you one. I'm going to just give the highlight on here. We had 303 million of net taxable value that we added to the county during prorated throughout the year, 2020. I'm gonna let Greg talk a little bit more.
Brian, I have a question for you. I'm looking at the 2020 missed supplemental and occupancy assessed value. You said 303 million, and I have for Canyon County 307 million.
307, excuse me.
Okay, 307, 202, 984. Okay, thank you. And Greg.
So the difference may have been that I ran the report a few days before you guys finished up the PTR parcel. Why there's a slight difference between the graph. So of course it's got the great colors, you know. You gotta go with
Right. And University of Idaho, so this is a Vandal assessor, so. Right, I am a Bronco, I'm just putting that out for the record.
So if you're looking at this one, and we're gonna use the 303 that's on here, is the total net taxable. And I think there's always some question between what new value is coming in, is residential versus ag versus commercial. And that's what this is doing, is breaking down the top line here. The 2020 total is 303. The next column over is residential, that was 185 million. And then the next column was commercial at 117. And that's a pretty high number this year, but that's because it involves, it includes Amazon and also, I think, Simplot's freezer, their new freezer. And it also includes a lot of apartments, big apartment complexes that came online. So that number is pretty large. And then your third column is ag, and it's a pretty low number, and that may be a little bit misleading because some of the larger ag probably gets moved over into the commercial industrial side.
I have a question. So when Steve was here earlier in the week with Brian and presented this supplemental occupancy value, my understanding was that this was related to construction and heavy equipment. And that is still true for this document. And your presentation this morning, Greg, has to do with just occupied that came online.
During 2020.
Okay, so two separate things.
Madam Chair, the transient rule was more related to construction equipment that moved throughout the state. This is local property that is ongoing, doesn't move. It's new building structures.
I appreciate that clarification. That is a lot, and it's commensurate with what we see happening, just a lot of boom in the county, so.
Big increase.
Yeah. Steve, I want to give you the opportunity to provide any additional comment. I appreciate you coming this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Always.
I don't have much of anything to add. I mean, what Greg has done other than the colors of this, I think really kind of speaks volume to what we're seeing in the county. We can take this is occupancy value, so this is a new value that came on the roll in 2020 that will be picked up as portion of it as new construction value for 2021. Although it's not the new construction value, I'll make that clear, it's just a portion of the new construction, but you can see where that new construction is going to be a big impact to a lot of our taxing districts throughout the county.
So I have a question for you. Last year, new construction, if I remember right, correct me if I'm not, I don't, but 1.8 million for new construction last year in the county, is that right?
I don't have my numbers.
Close. And so what do you anticipate this will look like in terms of tax roll, provided the legislature doesn't limit that?
Well, that's the big question, right? Legislation limiting or making adjustment to a homeowner's exemption could certainly impact it. Just like I'm getting hit with taxing districts on new construction values already, and like I told them, I could give you a number, but the error of margin is probably going to be upward to 80 to 90%. So I'd rather not even provide that number or get some hopes up on some budgets that could be out there. So
okay, well, I think that's important to know too. That I know the assessor, the controller. There's a lot of people involved at the legislative level to lobby for property tax relief that makes sense, and limiting new construction doesn't seem to do that. So I think that's one way to have what's coming to Canyon County help offset increase in taxes to, tenured residents. So I don't know, Brian, if you have anything else to say.
This portion, nope.
Okay, so we have two items that we need to approve this morning, the occupancy value and the same. What do you need us?
So Madam Chair, you really don't have to approve either one of them.
Okay.
To acknowledge, we're just sharing with you that you don't have to make any changes. There was no BOE. The second document is the property tax reduction. 2 years ago, I believe now, the legislature passed the ability for if you have a home that was occupied during the middle of the year, you can qualify for a PTR on that home as well. That's 35 of those scenarios this year, or that happened in 2020. We're looking at a total reduction of potential total reduction of $32,910 that would be reimbursed from the state of Idaho to help pay property taxes for these individuals.
So I'm going to say that back because before you did not have the ability to go mid-year and make the adjustment. That's new from the legislature. Is that what you said?
This is the second year, I think.
Okay. Okay. So which sheet am I looking at, Brian?
On the top, it says property tax reduction. Oh, it's right up here.
There. Thank you for that. Okay. So you've got an itemized list by parcel of properties that qualified for that mid-year reduction, and the net offset to the revenue received for the Canyon County Taxing District is $32,000. Okay.
Sure, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be assisting those individuals with their taxes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all of that information for the record, and where you don't need an action item from us. Commissioner White, do you have any additional questions?
No. Good information. Thank you.
Anyone else? Greg, last chance. Dave, behind Mike. Okay. It is now 9:25 on Friday the 12th, and that concludes this portion of the meeting. We have another item of business that concerns the assessor, and it is actually a public hearing that was scheduled to take comment regarding the assessor's proposed DMV administrative fee increase. And it's my understanding in talking with the assessor that we need to reschedule this meeting pending an ITD meeting next week and I think we have a tentative date already looked at. Do you want to put some information on the record, Brian?
Madam Chair, we're kind of regrouping a little bit and some other items that have come to light between the last meeting we had and today. So we'd like to postpone the meeting that was scheduled today for next Thursday. I think 9 o'clock is the time.
9:30.
9:30.
February.
Commissioner White, I'm sorry, Brian, did you have something else?
Madam Chair, we're going to explore a couple different options, maybe possibly funding a few positions from the property tax roll, and then have a major discussion on what we do with fees closer to budget cycle.
Okay, and I appreciate that. So really two discussions, two scenarios that will be presented next week. And the greatest need that you have is for immediate relief at the DMV to help you with the backlog that's out there. So I appreciate the work that you put into that. And unless you have any questions, Commissioner White, I would take a motion. Yes?
I ask one short question.
Okay.
You know, with the prevailing subject will be of the ITD now and the next scheduled meeting on this. Brian, you know what you're going to talk about. Have anything? I know that I've been talking to Representative Cheney down in Moto and I district, and Cheney has told me that there is a bill coming. Of course, the legislature moving on to it till last week, but to do something about the computer upgrade corrections in the 3 largest counties that are having these problems. And I just wondered if you had any indication as to whether that's going to be addressed in this meeting or not.
And Brian, I just want to, before you answer, can you put your name on the record for us? is asking the question.
Sure. Steve Shea.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Shake, that's a great question. It's the meeting that will happen next week is between ITD, their director, myself, Ada County Assessor Bob McQuaid, and a couple members of the governor's staff. So I think we're going to iron out a scenario of, I'm hoping, of how they're going to help us get caught up and move through the future till the system is more stable, I guess. So.
Okay, as long as Brian's going to be there, I'll feel like, maybe all of us will be represented.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah. I also want to say for the record, one of the criticisms from ITD is that your employees are not well trained, rather than the system has some obvious errors. Do you want to address that on record?
Madam Chair, we've had a visit from one of their employees, and they were timing transactions, how long it took transactions to be completed, and when that individual left, they said it wasn't anything on our end, which was comforting to us, because if they would have said, hey, your transactions are twice as long as everybody else in the state, then I would be really, really worried. But that wasn't what they told us. But
so they had an ITD employee running the software?
The employee was not running the software. They were timing how long one of my individuals was taking to do the transaction. They have made an enhancement to help renewal process. I had an individual yesterday. That's all she did was from 8 o'clock till later on in the afternoon was process mail-in renewal. And it still took much longer for her to complete those transactions that it did in the prior system. And that when things are slower with the same amount of people, it just stacks up. And that's all of our constituents are feeling the pain from it.
And if I understood you correctly, the ask will be to have help from ITD. And even if you get help, you don't know how many people you'll get. And what would that look like if you got help? Will you still have a need for additional employees?
Madam Chair, that's correct. I believe that we would need additional staffing. There's transactions off the counter that we're just not even getting. We don't have time to get to. And we're turning people away at 1 o'clock every day. So.
And your backlog dates back to November?
We're processing dealer titles from late November. That's correct.
Yeah.
I have one more additional question. How many employees do you have in on the weekend?
I think we consistently have 3 to 5 employees that are coming in. We've spent about $13,000, maybe more today, on overtime, having people come in to help catch up. And my team they're burned out. You can only push them so hard.
And hold on for just a second. And Brian, that would be one of the things that would be good data is, given the dollar amount of the overtime, to translate that to number of employees at regular time. So I know you're good on data.
Madam Chair, the ITD is going to help pay for some of that overtime.
Okay.
That's one of the projects I'm in the middle of right now is figuring out how much they're going to contribute. Right now it's set up, they'll contribute 24 hours worth of overtime and benefits for each individual that works overtime, but not all of my employees are able to work overtime because of various reasons. So personally, I feel that I should be able to take all my employees, multiplied by 24 hours by maybe an average pay rate out there plus benefits. I think that might be a little more fair because we do have some individuals that are working a considerable amount of overtime hours. That will be part of the discussion as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Shea.
I just want to go on record of one other thing, and I'd like to suggest to the commission is that I have been in contact with Representative Cheney. He's about as far down the road of getting something done on this as I am. And to the point that he's shared information with me about how the program came about and promises that back in October, whatever, that this would work. And so I would suggest that either Brian or you guys solicit his support in that, legislatively as much as you can, because he's looked into it and he has contacts with other legislators now, so they're also really put pressure on, as he said they did even last year.
Okay.
So,
And
if you can use your influence, that would be, I just wanted to mention his name so that if you wanted to contact somebody, find out what's actually going on or in the work there, he would be the one.
I'm happy to reach out to Representative Cheney. That sounds like a good suggestion. Thank you very much. Is there any other comments or conversation this morning? If not, then I would entertain a motion to reschedule this meeting for continuation, or continue this meeting.
Make motion, we continue this meeting to Thursday, the 18th at 9 a.m.
Second.
Is that right? 9:30. Pardon me, 9:30.
The motion is to continue until February 18th at 9:30. I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this meeting stands adjourned at 9:34.
Commissioners?
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Did we have somebody online I missed?
Brad and Rachel still.